Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a template, and we're going to add editable regions. Alright, so first of all, once again, let me show you where we're going to end up. So inside Dreamweaver, this is a picture of what it looks like at the very end of this project. Is we're going to create this templates folder. Within the templates folder, we're going to create a file called mainpage.dwt Dreamweaver templates. Alright, now, and within a template file, what we're going to do is we're going to add two editable regions. Alright, one here and one here. So what exactly is an editable region? An editable region is an area. Now, first of all, let me mention that the whole concept of templates is not part of HTML. Templates is a feature of Dreamweaver only. Okay. Now, what a template is in editable regions is, you notice that, and I did mention this before. You notice that for each one of these pages, okay, that the design and layout of the page is basically the same. Is really the name up, this title up here, and the content in the middle that changes from page to page. All right. So what I want to do is I want to create these pages based on the same template or the same layout, but I need to tell Dreamweaver that where my editable regions are, where the content is going to change from page to page. So you notice that this is my template file, and I can edit any part of this template file I want. All right, any slice anywhere I want. But this brew page, okay, is a page that is created based on the template, and the difference is, you notice that it will allow me to edit the title, it will allow me to edit the text, but it will not, you see the circle there, it will not let me edit anything else. Alright, so the editing is locked, and even when you go to code view, you notice that everything else is grayed out, meaning you can't edit anything except what's inside of an editable region. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start from here. In your website, in your root folder of your website, you should have an HTML file that was generated from Photoshop. Open it up, and what it should look like is this is basically your template. This is basically your design. So I'm going to close off this panel because I don't need it. Now, what we need to do is we need to convert this into a template. So to do that, you go File, Save as Template, okay, and I'm just going to keep the same name and click Save. Update links, yes. The reason why it needs to update the links is because it's going to put that template file into its own folder. So so basically, it needs to update the links, because before, this main design was opening this folder and finding all the slices. But if the main design resides in this folder, okay, which is inside templates, what it needs to do is it won't find images. It needs to back up one, okay, and it needs to open images and look for it, just to show the difference. If you look at the main design in code view, have a look at this. Have a look at this link here. It looks to images and graphics left, graphics file, and here if you go to code view, you notice that this is the difference. Okay, so look at here and here. I just want you to know the difference, and we have that feature because we defined a site. Alright, so I don't need my main page HTML. I'm working on my design here. Let's go back to design view. Okay, now that we have our template, we still don't have any editable region. So we need to tell Dreamweaver that where the content is going to change from page to page. So the page title here is going to change, and the content in here is going to change as well. So as I mentioned earlier in this set of lessons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a combination of hand coding, okay, doing things the hard way, but the more detailed way, and I'm going to show you kind of a shortcut way of doing it as well. Alright. So in this case, we're going to hand code it. I want you to click on code, and I want you to scroll to the very bottom of the document, and where you see here right before the end of the body tag, I want you to skip a few lines here, and we're going to insert our editable region here. So insert, and you'll see why in a second. So what I'm doing here, just to let you know, is I'm going to insert this editable region right in this area here, right in the slice here. So if I click on something in design view and go to code view, you might be saying, well, why don't I add my editable region right where this image is? Well, don't worry about it. I'll explain in a second. Just follow along. So at the end of the body tag, insert an editable region right at the end here. So go insert template objects, editable region 3, sure, why not? And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert layout objects, and I'm going to insert a div tag. Sorry, screwed up. Insert layout objects and AP div. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is see this text here where it says editable region 3. I want to take this and I want to put it right in between the div tags. Alright, and then what I'm going to do here is I want to clean up my coding, something I'm going to explain in a lot more detail later. So here I have a special, now this is a comment tag, but this is a special template tag that is used by Dreamweaver. Remember, templates are a feature of Dreamweaver. That's why this comment tag is colored green, okay, and this comment tag is colored green, and this one's colored gray. Is because Dreamweaver recognizes this comment tag as something related to templates. So I want to push that in, hit tab there, okay, push that in as well, and push it just like this. What I've done here is I've nested my coding, so I have my editable region start here, my editable region end here, I have my division that starts here and division that ends here, and this is in here. So you notice that they're all kind of staggered and nested. The reason I do that is just to keep my code clean and tidy and professional. More on that later. So if I go to design view, you also want to notice when I added this div tag, all right, Dreamweaver automatically added some CSS up here. Okay, so I'll discuss that later. And I want you to notice these numbers 200 by 115, and I want to notice that there's 4 items here. Now watch this. I'm going to go to design view. Okay, now I'm going to use a drag and drop feature here. I'm going to what's a div? In a nutshell, if you use Microsoft Word and if you use a text box, a div is very much like a text box. So I drag the div up there, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of align it exactly where I want, and then I can resize this div. Alright, and let's go back to the code view, see what happened here. Go out to code view, alright, and scroll up. You notice here I now have 6 items. I have the width and the height has changed, but I also have dimensions left and top. Left is like the position, the X position on a graph, and top is like the Y position on a graph. Alright, and there you have it. This is my editable region. So Control S to save it. And let's continue. So what I want to do now is I want to add a second editable region. So I'm going to go back to code view. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to add a second. So this one here, this first editable region is basically for the title. The second editable region is going to be for the content, the body content. So I'm going to go insert template objects, editable region, sure, editable region 4. Okay, and in between there, I'm going to go insert layout objects, AP div. Alright, and I'm going to move this editable region 4 inside of my AP div, and then I'm going to structure my coding so that it's nice and clean and tidy. There you go. Back like this, and this one can come down as well. Right, and then go to design view, and then I'm going to move this editable. Now this is my body. So it's somewhere here, so I'm going to place it roughly where I want, and then I can use my arrow keys in design view to kind of fine tune it, just like you learn how to do in Photoshop. And then increase this to include the size of my entire text, roughly right about there. And if you go back to code view and you scroll up and you have a look at what it did for us, now we have AP div 2, the CSS for AP div 2. So save it. So save it, and there you have. I'll talk about CSS in more detail later, what it is and why it has it and what we use it for. So for now, we have our template, with 2 editable regions, and we're ready to create the web pages. Okay.